Every leader sends ripples through their organization, whether they mean to or not. I mean, the way you walk into the room, the way you listen, even the silence you keep, it all shapes culture. So the question today is, are your ripples building trust or are they breaking it? Come on, let's get into this amazing discussion. Hello there. Welcome to Transformation Station, where we equip leaders to think deeper, lead better, and create lasting impact. I'm Adrienne Benton, and today we are exploring the ripple effect, how your presence sets culture. In this episode, we're going to talk about why your daily presence, not your policies, is actually the most powerful culture setting tool. And also, we're going to talk about what top leaders do to send intentional ripples that will inspire and unite their teams. Well, listen, I'm ready to get into this. So I want to invite you right now to go ahead and share this episode with another leader, at least one other leader in your network. Well, today, I'm really thrilled about our guest. Our guest is a longtime friend and colleague, someone that I have actually watched not just talk about leadership, but do leadership in action, and is someone that I consider to be a guru at this. And so at this time, I want to invite the Transformation Station community to help me to welcome Dr. Andrew Francis. Welcome to Transformation Station.
Be here. It's good to be here.
Good. It's so good to have you. Dr. Francis, right? Okay, so today we're talking about a topic that I think is really relevant, extremely important. It's called the ripple effect. Many times, for leaders out there, when we're talking about making a difference, right, we really focus more so on career things, right? Like the policies and the procedures. Many times we don't really stop to look at the impact that our presence has. Well, today in this conversation, I'm really looking forward to discussing with you how presence actually sets culture. So I want to start off by asking you this question, Dr. Francis. How do you define leadership presence, and why is it believed from your perspective that presence sets the tone for a team or for an organization?
Mhm. All right, defining leadership presence. I'll start first with saying that when we talk about presence, that being present isn't just enough. That's the first step.
Okay.
So showing up is good. Being present is not enough, though. You have to be intentional. Let's
Mm-hmm.
say leadership presence includes being intentional, being able to show up with your values,
Mm-hmm.
show up with a vision, and for leaders, especially, show up with a confidence that will inspire others so that you're able to shape whatever task, mission, uh, behaviors that the culture, your community that you're leading needs.
1000%. So, as you were talking, I was thinking about the fact that leadership presence I've seen over the years, it's a blend, right? It's a blend of
Hmm.
the behaviors, it's a blend of the emotional signals that a leader sometimes
Yes.
projects, right?
Oh,
It's a blend
yes.
of the qualities. And
Hmm.
when I think about presence from leaders who I respect and appreciate, I would pay attention to physical things, right? Like
Hmm.
their posture, right? Like the
Right.
expressions that they would give
Hmm.
verbally. How do they communicate? What is their tone of voice, right? What's the pacing of their communication? I think about a leader that
Hmm.
you and I know very well, Yolanda Gillen, right?
Oh,
Captain Gillen,
yes.
right? I absolutely love her presence because she stands up tall, right? She speaks
Hmm.
clearly with discernment, right? Her words are concise. She's not all over the place. And many times when I'm communicating, I think about her, not to be her,
Hmm.
but to model that presence, and she really causes the culture, those who she is around, to be able to feel a sense of psychological safety. Like
Mm.
there's security in her presence, security in what she said. Like she says it, and you're like, I can trust that, right?
Yes, yeah, yes, yes.
So I want to just hone in one more time. Why do you believe it's important for us as leaders to set the tone for the
Mhm.
organizations that we lead? Why is that important?
Well, when we talk about leadership, leadership is not for the faint of heart, and it's not for those who just want something to do really quick and move on to the next thing. When you're a leader, that mantle of leadership stays with you, even when you're not in front of the crowds. I would even go so far as to say, especially when you're not in front of the crowds, you're leading. So, as a leader, you take on that responsibility of getting an organization through a specific task or sometimes even through a crisis. So you have to show up authentically. So
Mm-hmm.
that means you're aligning not just, as I said, your values, what you say you believe, but that alignment also has to show up in how you show up. So when we talk
Mm-hmm.
about intentional presence as a leader, uh, your presence there should shift the atmosphere when you do show up, when you do step into a situation, when you do address a problem, you do shift that atmosphere. And you talked a little bit about the emotional piece. There's this academic study called social contagion theory, which essentially says that our emotions are contagious. So
Ooh.
if you as a leader, you show up in a room and you're already bringing that energy, that smile, that uplifting spirit, it's going to change the temperature in that room. You
Mm-hmm.
directly influence the group morale and their performance.
Mm-hmm. 1,000%, right? It kind of goes back to the concept, which is really true, that leaders are constantly on stage. We're constantly
Mhm.
on stage in the eyes of
Yeah.
our people, right? And this visibility is, I think, what causes our presence to be almost like a signal system, right? I
Mhm.
can tell you from experience, when I go to work, when I walk in the door in the morning, if I'm like, good morning, or I walk in, I
Yeah.
don't speak to anybody, my staff is like,
Mhm.
instantly I can see like going on in their mind, okay, is today gonna be a good day? Is today gonna be a bad day? Like what's going
Right.
on with chaps, right?
Oh, yeah.
If I walk in, good morning, even if they're having a bad day, it kind of shifts the
Mhm.
atmosphere, kind of calls them to, okay, something may be going on, but we got to figure this out so that we can
Mhm.
move forward positively, right? And I think it goes back to what you were saying and talking about trust and psychological safety. So to our leaders who are
Mhm.
watching right now, right, we start the conversation acknowledging that it's not a myth, but it really is true
Mhm.
that our presence
Yes.
does shift, have a ripple effect in the culture in which we're working. So, those leaders who are watching right now, I want to invite you to pause. This is a good place to pause for a moment and to kind of take an assessment of the ripple effect that you have in your organization or that you have in your workspace. Okay,
Mhm.
so, Dr. Francis, here's another question that I would like to ask you. What are some of the subtle ways that a leader's presence communicates values without even using words?
Mhm. So, you mentioned psychological safety. The thing about psychological safety is when a leader shows up, if they are smiling, if they have an open, welcoming demeanor, then that lets people know, hey, it's safe for me to speak up. It's safe for me to share. And
Mhm.
so, how they show up before they even say anything, that
That's right.
psychological safety signals to others, I don't have to be fearful and stay silent. But if
Mhm.
you if you have that demeanor that says the next person that says a word, I'm going to jump on their back, I'm going to, they're going to get attacked, so then people start
Right.
to shirk away and they become quiet. So that psychological safety is huge. But I also say for the leader, there's also that the culture cascade effect, which essentially says what you allow is how people will see the culture and shape the culture. So those values that you have, they're going to flow from the top down. Those values that you have are going to be the ones that people will either emulate,
Mm-hmm.
or they will say they will mimic. So
Mm,
they'll mimic what the leaders reward, and they will tolerate what the leaders tolerate, and more importantly, I think they will ignore what the leaders ignore.
mm-hmm.
And all of those are things that you can do without even speaking a word. So that the culture of that organization becomes shaped by the behaviors that the leader is willing to tolerate.
Okay. So, to those of you listening, Dr. Francis just gave us some powerful words to really think about, right? How we shape the culture within our organization and within our workspaces. Now, Dr. Francis, I'm going to give
Hmm.
us like a little quiz, right? Okay.
Okay.
So, here are some more values that we communicate without words. One,
Hmm.
punctuality and time management. Oh boy.
Ooh.
Mm. Have you seen this? Because we're not going to talk about ourselves right now,
Hmm.
right?
Right.
Have you ever seen a leader who tells everybody to be on time, but consistently comes into the office late in the morning, or takes long breaks, or leaves early just
Hmm.
because?
Hmm. Yeah,
Okay.
and we know we have this saying in our organization, that if you're on time, you're late, and
Hmm.
if you're 15 minutes early, then you're on time. Uh,
Hmm.
when you show up to meetings and the leader is consistently late, that signals to others, well, the leader's not really there right now. So I don't have to be there right now.
Mm,
Also, when we talk about time and punctuality, within our culture, it is a sign of respecting someone
yes.
else's time. So
Yes.
when you don't show up when you're supposed to, and you're not communicating if there are any issues or any challenges, and they're looking and it's like, okay, it's 10 minutes past the time, it's 20 minutes past the time. Like, where is this individual? That communicates that you, as a leader, did not value their time. And
Mm-hmm.
going back to what I said earlier, what you tolerate
Mm-hmm.
is what people are going to accept
Mm-hmm.
as the culture.
Mercy. All right, so here's another one.
Oh boy, here we
Attentive
go.
or distracted body language.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
that's good.
For
That's good.
example, here's example. Checking your phone or scanning the room
Hmm.
can signal disinterest or that people are
Hmm.
unimportant. Okay, so I want to talk about this for a moment from two folds, right? I want to talk about it first from the vantage point of having a leader do this to me, right?
Okay.
I know how I feel, right? When I'm talking to somebody I'm leading, and they're on the phone, they're looking around the room, like they hear me, but it
Hmm.
gives me that feeling like they're not really hearing me.
Yes.
But I also have to confess that in the midst of having busy days,
Hmm.
right,
Oh yeah.
where things are
Oh
just
yeah.
going nonstop in the office, I have to confess that I have to fight the temptation sometimes to, when I'm talking to someone, to not just rely on my ears in terms of I hear them, but to turn
Mm.
away from the computer screen, to
Ooh.
stop, to give the, oh my goodness. So I have been guilty
Hmm.
of, and I found that recently, sometimes I will turn and say, listen, I hear you. I really need to multitask while we're talking about this, but I
Hmm.
hear you. And I've
Hmm.
noticed that
Yeah.
if it calls for that to take place, when I communicate that, I see the
Hmm.
person, they kind of, and then they engage a little bit more. Like it takes
Mm.
away that insecurity of what I'm saying is not important to her. What do you think about
Mm. Yeah, definitely, definitely. The cues and the information we convey without words is so important. Um, you mentioned, body language, and then this one I want to say attention. So it reminds me of a acronym that I have for leaders that
Mm,
essentially is to remember to say be the face, be the
oh,
face. And so the first letter is B, which is the body language. So we talked about that already. So your body
mm,
language, that's going to convey, if you have an open posture, then people are going to once again think you're welcoming. If you have a closed posture, it's like, this person's not approachable. They're defensive right now. So that's
mm,
the B. The F part is your facial expressions.
mm,
Um, but my face tells something to people way before I actually let the words come out. And
mhm,
sometimes, if the facial expressions don't match up with the words, I
mhm,
believe people are now in a confused state, and
mm.
some people will believe the facial expression more than they believe the
Mercy.
words.
So
All right.
true.
So the F is for those facial expressions. So if you're upset or you have a stern demeanor, that's going
Mhm,
to discourage the dialogue. Versus if you're once again you're smiling, you have that joy, like I want to be here look on your face.
mhm.
That can now open a more trusting environment for
Yes.
those that you're leading, and they'll feel as though, okay, yes, by their facial expressions, I can continue to engage. The A is now that goes to what you were speaking about with the cell phone, your attention. Like,
Mm,
where is your attention? Because who you give your eyes and ears to signals what's important to you.
mhm,
So if I'm talking to someone but I'm not looking at them, um, then it seems as though whatever I'm looking at is more important. Now,
mhm,
sometimes I will be having a conversation with people and I will scan the room or I'll look behind them. And if I look behind them long enough, they're going to turn around and they want to
mhm.
know what is
Well,
that? What is
sure
that?
will.
So they want to see what's behind that's so important because your
Mhm,
attention, where you place your eyes and ears, lets
mhm,
people know what is truly important to you, what it signals what you value.
mhm,
So C is consistency, consistency.
mhm,
When you're consistent, when you continue to show up in a predictable manner,
mhm,
that builds stability. So that
mm,
consistency allows people to now trust your presence because
mhm,
you show up consistently. You
mm,
just can't be sporadic and erratic with it.
mhm,
So that consistency helps to build that stability that people know, hey, this is someone that I can trust. And then the
mhm,
last one is E, and that's just your energy level.
mhm.
As you mentioned in the morning, if you come in and you're like I've had a rough last couple of 2 days. I knew I was coming on here this morning, so I said I have to go get some sleep. Like I have to get some sleep because if I'm going through the energy that has been depleted, then I'll come in here dragging, and you all will be talking about my facial expressions and body language the entire time. And
Mhm.
also, the other thing with energy level, like if you want to inspire people, motivate them, then you have to come with something to
Yep.
inspire and motivate. You have to
Mhm,
bring that energy. But sometimes there people may be in a panic, so your energy may need to shift, and now you need to show up as that calm
mhm,
presence, and being that calming presence now allows them, even though hey things are a little bit uh, hectic, sporadic right now, just showing up with that calm demeanor under
mhm,
that pressure will now inspire confidence in you as a leader, but
mhm.
also it will shift the temperature of the room. And that is what leaders do. So be the face, your body language, your facial expressions, the attention, your consistency, and your energy level.
I love that. So, to those of you who are watching, here in Transformation Station, we always like to take some moments to pause, to reflect, to kind of review, right? So that we hear, but we also let it take root. And so, we're just going to review what Dr. Francis shared with us, right? Be the face. He said, remember your body language, very important, right?
Mm,
Your facial expressions, very important. the attention that you give. What are you giving your attention to when you're engaging with your coworkers, your colleagues, those who you are leading? Consistency. How are you showing up? Are you showing
Mhm.
up in a manner where your team knows what they're going to get when you come to work, right? And what that means is not necessarily that nobody's perfect, but that they understand Dr. Francis has a calm demeanor. Dr. Francis will, come to the meeting on time, and if he can't, he will communicate, right? We find problems when our team does not know what they're going to get from us on any given day, or they can't trust our word.
Mhm.
And then he talked about energy, right? The energy level that you bring into the room. You want your people to be rock stars and to produce. Are you bringing energy that supports that type of behavior? It's really important. I was thinking also about sometimes the use of silence. Okay.
Mhm.
Here's what I mean by that, right? Sometimes if we have an awkward or prolonged silence, that can create tension or disengagement.
Mhm.
Sometimes you will find that you have some leaders who, when something goes wrong, they go crazy, right? They yell, they scream, they curse people out. And then you have others who
Mhm.
do like silent treatment, right?
Mhm.
And when we do that prolonged silence, you're talking to someone and you don't respond back. They're talking to you, you don't respond back. You just kind of look at
Mhm.
them. It causes people to feel insecure and like, okay, what's really going on, right? And so we really want to be careful to create within our workspaces a comfortable, intentional pause. Right? A
Mhm.
comfortable, intentional pause can communicate thoughtfulness. And Dr. Francis, you talked about that word respect.
Mhm.
That right
Mhm.
there is another big one when it comes to how we set the tone in our workspaces, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to agree with everyone. You don't always have to agree even with how somebody chooses to get something done, but can you respect that they may have a different way of doing things? Or can you, there's a saying that says agree to disagree.
Mhm.
Sometimes in life, you have to agree to disagree. Can you agree to disagree while still respecting the person? That
Mhm.
really key,
Right.
you know? And please go ahead.
I just want to jump in on that last point. Um, you should expect there to be some disagreement. If you're a
Yes.
leader and you're surrounded by people who only parrot what you say, who
Mhm.
only think as you think, and um, only have the ideas that you have, you're really just leading a party of one. You're not leading a group, and you're not using all of the resources available to you when you don't allow there to be uh, those opportunities to push back on some ideas, to really
Mhm.
interrogate some of the directions we may be heading as an organizations, to really be able to say, is this really what should be taking place right now, or is there a better use of our precious time resource? Is there a better use of what we bring to the table as an organization? But if you don't have uh, that ability to interrogate different possibilities, then now what happens is you're on a path and you may get down to the end of that path and find out, oh, well, this was the wrong way. And now we have
Mhm.
to turn around. It's going to take much longer to get where we needed to go because we did not have that environment that encouraged, hey, let's go ahead and work through some of this first so that
Mhm.
we can at least start off on the right path from the beginning instead of wasting that time. So you do have to have that. And if you don't have a culture where that respect is there, you respect opinions that are different from yours,
Mhm.
that you're willing to listen, and actually, I'll throw in another one. You're humble enough to know that you may not be right.
Mm.
So if
Mm.
you can't have that respect and you can't have the humility to accept that, hey, there are going to be some things that you are going to be wrong on, and there are things you're going to get wrong. So it helps to have that counsel. There's a proverb that says that in the multitude of
Yes.
counsel,
Very.
there's wisdom. You want to
Yes.
have that multitude of counsel, and that requires you to be able to respect other people's perspectives because they have different lived experiences. They have different things that they bring to the table that you are not carrying in your tool belt. So it'll be wise to utilize all of the resources within the organization.
1000%. So I want to go back to one of the words that you mentioned earlier, and that was energy, right? Can you
Mhm.
share with us a time when your energy or when your presence shifted the culture in a room for better or for worse?
Ooh. So I'm going to use an example that it, it if you're if you're a leader, leading adults is challenging. If you're an educator, leading children is even more challenging. At my church, they have this organization called Pathfinders, and every 5 years or so, they do this big camping trip. It's an international camping trip where thousands and thousands of young people come together for this week long camping experience. And this year, we were in Wyoming, and there were several severe thunderstorm warnings, and one was so bad that we had to evacuate the campsite. And as the campsite leaders are going through on their blowhorn, telling people we need to evacuate, we need to seek shelter, hard structures, and things like that, there was this sense of um, danger, but also fear that was there. And I happened to be the Pathfinder leader for this excursion. And I had to take a moment and make sure that I showed up calmly, gave nice, clear instructions, be direct and firm in those instructions so that the people can orderly get to the hardened structures until the storm passed and then be able to get everyone back together. Uh, and it is in those situations as a leader when others are panicked that your presence now makes that difference, how you show up. So having the calm uh, demeanor in the midst of all of that chaos made a big difference in making sure that I can send off various leaders in different directions with group of kids and
Mhm.
everyone get to the destination, shelter in place, and return safely.
Listen, I love that. That is a real practical example. And for our leaders who are watching and listening, I invite you right now to think of your own example, a time where your energy and your presence, for good, for better, or for worse, shifted the
Mhm.
culture in the room. If you instantly think of a for worse, then we also want to invite you to think of a how can we do different, right,
Yes.
going forward. And if you think of a for better, then I want to invite you to think of a how can I keep that same energy?
Mhm.
That how can I replicate that,
Mhm.
right? So so Andrew, when you were talking, it made me think of this because here's the truth to all of our leaders.
Mhm.
Everything from how you walk into a room to how you hold your coffee or tea cup
Mhm.
is a cultural cue. People are
Mhm.
constantly decoding your signals, whether you intend for them to do so or not. And
Oh,
I love
yes.
quote in Dr. Francis because to me this is just real life. This is just comes with leadership, right? It's not an extra
Mhm.
task, it's not an extra burden, but it just comes with being a leader, right? People are going to follow your cues, they're going to follow your example. You don't have to be
Mhm.
perfect, but we do have to be intentional. We
Intentional.
do
Yes.
have to be intentional, right?
Yeah.
So Dr. Francis, to the leader who is listening and watching right now, and they're saying,
Mhm.
okay, I hear you. People are watching me. Okay, I hear you. I have to be faced, right? I have to be intentional
Mhm.
with my attention, my consistency, my energy, right? How would you encourage these leaders to protect and align their presence during high pressure seasons when stress
Ooh.
and urgency threatens to spill over?
Mhm.
Because that's where the real test comes in, right?
Mhm.
So how would you encourage leaders to protect and align their presence when they are in a high pressure season?
Mm. But I'll connect that with your previous point. Your presence is always on broadcast. So when you show up as a leader, your presence is always on broadcast. So if you're in a high pressure situation now, people are looking to see how are you going to respond. How are you going to show up in this moment when now this is not the fun moments where it's great to be a leader. This is the moments that people are looking to their leader because they may not know where to go or what to expect, and that is really when leaders need to show up the most. And I like acronyms, so for this one I will say for the leaders that you need to remain sane.
Okay.
SANE. You need to remain sane. High pressure situations, remain sane. The first one is the S. And it's just to help you uh, keep it simple. You want to separate the urgency of the situation. So separate the urgency from the panic. So
Okay.
separate
Okay.
the urgency of the situation from the panic. So what I mean,
Okay.
one, you have to model that calm decisiveness,
Mm-hmm.
even when action is needed fast. So you can still move quickly and
Mm-hmm.
calmly. You can
Okay.
still move
Okay.
quickly and calmly. So separate the urgency of the situation from the panic. And also by separating the panic away,
Mm-hmm.
people are now able to focus on what's most important, on what the
Mm-hmm.
priorities are, because we've
Mm-hmm.
removed the panic aspect, and now we're focused on what is most urgent. So that's the
Okay.
S. The A is to anchor in your values. Anchor in your
Anchor.
values.
Okay.
So let your principles, not
Mm-hmm.
the pressure, determine your tone. Let the
Okay.
principles, not the pressure, determine your tone. So you remain anchored in your values. Those
Mm-hmm.
values are what guides you as a leader. So
Mm-hmm.
if one of your values is, I want to make sure that whatever we do it in a fair manner. We want to be just in the way that we operate as an organization.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, there might be some panic, and that might be a temptation to cut a corner or to cheat here or there, because some people say if you're not cheating, you're not trying. But if you're
Mercy.
anchored in your values, yeah, it's if you're anchored in your values, then you say, no, we're going to do this right. We're going to make sure that this is fair and equitable on
Mm-hmm.
how we operate. And being
Mm-hmm.
anchored in your values lets now those principles lead, not the pressure of the situation. So
Mm-hmm.
anchoring your values. Um,
Mm-hmm.
the next one, N, for N, I say name the pressure.
Okay.
Name the pressure.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just be transparent. Transparency requires truthfulness. And when we're
Mm-hmm.
transparent, we can say, hey, you know what? This is a tough situation. This is a difficult situation. I know we're in a bind. It seems as though we're between a rock and a hard place. And
Mm-hmm.
by naming what that issue is, naming what the pressure is, showing up with that transparency, that now allows you to earn the trust of your team. So don't show
Mm-hmm.
up and pretend as though nothing's happening. So
Mercy.
when I say show up and be calm, that's not like, oh, being aloof as though this
Mm-hmm.
is not an urgent situation.
Mm-hmm.
So that transparency and naming what it is lets the team know, hey, this is what's happening, but
Mm-hmm.
also here's how we're going to handle it.
That's how we're gonna
So I
handle
understand what's happening. I understand what's going on. I understand the situation.
it.
And here
Mm-hmm.
is how we are going to handle it.
Handle it. I love that.
And then the last one, E, I
Mm-hmm.
say enter after a pause.
Okay.
Enter after a pause. So as leaders, talking about showing up intentionally,
Mm-hmm.
making sure that our presence is intentional as well when we do show up.
Mm-hmm.
So enter after a pause. So pause and take a couple deep breaths. Make sure that you have set yourself emotionally, because when you walk into that room, you're the
Mm-hmm.
thermostat. You're the
Yes.
emotional thermostat. You're the one that now shifts the atmosphere as needed,
Mm-hmm.
because the things that uh, thermostats do
Mm-hmm.
is they not only change the temperature in the room, but they
Yes.
also maintain some things that should not be affected because you maintain that temperature. So I'll give you two examples. If you've ever worked at an IT place, they are very cold uh, settings set up for those places because a lot of computers and machines, they generate a lot of heat, and if the setting isn't cold enough, it'll generate too much heat and cause those machines to break down. Recently we moved to a nice tropical place, and they said when we moved in, don't let that thermostat go below a certain number. They said you want to keep it around 72, because if you keep it cool enough, then now that humidity and stuff is not going to build up, and you're not going to deal with mold and mildew issues. The temperature does more than just keep the people comfortable. It also allows the environment to not develop additional issues where you're not to be the thermostat that's needed in that situation. So your role as a leader has effects way beyond just the people that are observing your leadership.
Mm-hmm.
It is preventing additional damage as well as setting those at ease within your organization to move forward and to address whatever high pressure stakes are in front of you.
This is good stuff right here. So we're going to take a moment to review. I really love this SANE acronym, right? And for all of the
Mhm.
leaders, Dr. Francis has literally given us something that we can keep as priority, right? How do I stay sane in this situation? Well,
Yes.
number one, and I love this, separate the urgency from the panic. And to leaders, this really applies whether you're in the workspace or whether you're at home, like no matter where you're at,
Mhm.
this works. Separate the urgency from the panic. Panic is desperation mode, right? Panic,
Mhm.
to me, Dr. Francis, is where we react instead of respond, right? We got the emotions going and the
Mhm.
attitude and all
Yes.
these things, right? Um, so, and then you talk to us about the A, anchor your values.
Mhm.
Anchor your values. Can you just talk to us about that one more? Like what would you want somebody to really understand about that anchor your values?
So when we talk about intentional presence, you are the one showing up. And how
Mm-hmm.
you show up makes a difference. And you have to show up with your values. So if
Mm-hmm.
you are the one showing up, you need to know, hey, these are what my values are. This is what I believe. This is how I am going to lead. And you allow those values, those principles to
Mm-hmm.
guide you. Those
Mm-hmm.
are the ones that take lead because you are intentional in your presence. Because
Mm-hmm.
if you allow the pressure of the situation to lead, then you're going to vacillate between different actions as opposed
Mm-hmm.
to being able to be decisive because your principles are now the ones that are leading. It also helps to keep the character of the organization whole, and
Yes.
allows people to say, hey, this is an organization that we can trust. This is an organization that we are
Yes.
proud to be a part of.
Yes.
We have seen too many examples where leaders have not led with their values, and
Mm,
now the organization has a tainted outlook, and
mhm.
people are not so quick to say that they work for that organization. I might even say people may even hide their face when they are working for the organization.
Have mercy. Have
Have mercy.
mercy.
So
And
you
then you
want to
also
make sure your values lead. Make sure your values lead.
1000%, and I think especially in the world in which we live right now, when it comes to values, many times we find that in these pressure situations, that value system goes to the wayside. But it's that
Mhm.
value system that holds and grounds the trust that people have. I was
Mhm.
interacting with someone one time, and they told me, we're in the workspace, they told me that they did not they believed that lying was wrong. However, if the situation necessitated it, then lying
Mhm.
was okay. And I said, wait a
Mhm.
minute, it can't be either or. Like either lying is wrong or lying is okay.
Mhm.
Understand the impact. If you're a leader and you are known to be a liar, will your people trust you? They
Mhm.
said no. I
Yeah.
said, so right? So when you talk about the value system, I love the fact that you mentioned earlier, Dr. Francis, that we are the ones that show up, right?
Hmm.
So when we show up with who we are, with our values, our background. And so it's important that we have clarity and we are
Yes.
able to anchor our values so that we can lead with that clarity. You talked to us about naming the pressure. I think that this
Hmm.
is so important because when you name it, you are able to again provide clarity, right?
Yes.
And then you talk
Yes.
to us about enter after the pause. Before we move on, just I want to highlight this for a moment because I think this right here is really key. From your perspective, why would you say it's important to enter after a pause? After a pause.
Sometimes as leaders, we want to act. We want to jump into action. And we know that we're there to make a difference, and we want to see that difference happen. We want to see it take place. But sometimes we jump in a little too early
Mm,
because had we taken a moment to pause, uh, to kind of step back and get a better read of the situation, the way
mhm,
we approach it would be different. So that pause is important because uh, it allows us to say, I'm showing up calm, cool, and collected
mhm,
because I took those couple breaths, and I know this is a high pressure situation. Everyone else is on the edge of their seats with this, but that pause allows you uh, to not only uh, get that perspective, but it also reminds you that you are still in control of some things. You still have some agency by
yes.
taking that pause. If you don't
Yes.
take that pause, you're saying more so that the situation has control of you.
Mercy.
But by pausing, you're able to say, hey, no, I'm going to be the one to handle the situation. So that's why I
Mm,
say enter after the pause. That pause is important. It allows you to be able to just intentionally be that emotional thermostat when your presence is there in the room.
yes, yes, I love it. So that Dr. Kevin Jackson is watching and he's been
Oh,
typing in
yes.
the
Good
chat. And
friend.
Dr. Jackson,
Yes.
so glad to have you with us. And he says, lead with values. I love that.
Hmm.
Lead with values intentionally. Really
Hmm.
important leaders that we lead intentionally and we lead with our values. Thank you, Dr. Jackson, for sharing these key nuggets with us. And Monique Paul, welcome. So glad you're with us as well. So
Hmm.
Dr. Francis, as we turn the corner here on this conversation about the ripple effect, I want to
Hmm.
ask you, can you share with us from your perspective what's a daily or a weekly grounding practice that would help leaders to
Hmm.
make their presence intentional, like Dr. Jackson says, right? Intentional
Hmm.
so that we're leading from choice, not from reflex. From choice, not
Hmm.
from reflex. What's a daily or a weekly grounding practice that would help leaders, right? We're talking about high driven,
Hmm.
purposeful leaders to make their presence intentional so that we're leading from
Hmm.
choice, not from reflex.
Hmm. Let's say for leaders to make sure you're doing at least these three things. Take a moment to reflect. Spend some time in prayer. Um, take some time to kind of just review um, the things that have happened previously, the things that you are looking forward to. So I would say just taking moments to reflect, and also I would say taking time in prayer, seeking guidance. Once again, if you think you have all the answers, then you're going to be in for a rude awakening. You have to remind yourself as a leader that not only are you serving others, but that there's a higher purpose in your service. So reflect. So however you want to do that, morning, evening, middle of the day, but taking some time to reflect and spend some time in prayer, just contemplating um, and listening and seeking guidance. The other one I would say is to just take a moment to check in. Um, Check in with yourself. Say, how am I feeling today? What uh, am I dealing with today? What are the things that may be affecting my demeanor, my emotions, my um, facial expressions, and the way that I show up? And do I need to pause and reset before I engage? Do I need to do some specific uh, intentional resetting of my presence before a key interaction? So taking a moment just to check in with yourself to see where you are and be honest with yourself. That self awareness only works with honesty. If you pretend to be something or lie to yourself, once you lie to yourself, you will believe anything.
Mm.
And the last one
Yes.
I would say
Mhm.
is for leaders, especially those who are leading organizations where there are a lot of high tempo things. Still take a moment and to just take a break. Those who go to the gym understand, yes, I do need that weight. I do need that resistance to build the muscle. But also, in addition to the resistance, you need that recovery. So take a break, pause, take a break in between meetings to just kind of reset emotionally. You need that break so that you can show up fully. It's not just working out, working out, working out without the rest and recovery. The rest and the recovery is also a part of that development. So I'd say those would be things on a daily basis that
Mhm.
you may want to do as a leader. Um, I'd say more long term, if you're thinking weekly, um, I would suggest at least either just make sure you check in with yourself in terms of your values. Say, did I stay aligned to my values? Or are there some new things that I've learned that maybe I need to shift some things that I may
Mhm.
have believed? So being
Mhm.
open to that. And I think another one, we talked about the value of having the multitude of counsel.
Mhm.
So I would say make sure there's people that you are checking in with, that you can bounce stuff off of, people that uh, kind of serve as your board, your personal board,
Yes.
that you can go to and say, hey, this is what dealing, I'm dealing with. Um, you know, let me get some feedback on this. So now you can tweak how you address those situations in the future. And then finally, just remind yourself of why you're doing what you're doing. That motivation. You may need to do that weekly or monthly, but every now and then you need to be reminded of, hey, this is why I'm here. Because going and going and going without having that motivation to keep pushing you may cause you to run out of gas. It
Mhm.
may cause you to approach burnout and feel as though, hey, I can't do anymore. So reminding yourself of the why uh, helps to keep you motivated, helps to reignite um, you as a leader so you can go out and continue to inspire others with your presence.
Most definitely. This is like such an amazing conversation.
Mm.
I want to add one more real quick, and that is,
Okay.
the title of this is the ripple effect, right? So we want to invite leaders, name your ripple. Like ask yourself, what's the one thing that I want people to catch from me today? This is something that you can do every day before you go to work. Take time, as Dr.
Mm.
Francis was talking about, to focus in and breathe and relax and rest, and you
Mhm.
know, and when you before you walk in that door, ask yourself, what's the one feeling? What is the ripple effect that I want my team to
Mm.
catch from me today? If you are not in the frame of mind, or, if you're not in the emotional space for that to actually happen, you may need to take another
Mhm.
pause before you go in and engage,
Yeah.
right? So that you can set yourself, because Dr. Francis said to us that you show up as you. We show up as who we are every single day. But this is definitely another one thing that you could do as a leader. Dr. Francis, again,
Mhm.
what an amazing conversation. This is one that I absolutely have to go back and rewatch on the replay, because there were so many gems and nuggets. And I really loved the acronyms that you shared with us, because they're not just acronyms, for acronym's sake, but they really are practical. And if we adopt
Mhm.
them, my goodness, it will help us to continue to grow even more as high driven, powerful leaders at work and at
Mhm.
home. Dr. Francis, let me ask you this. If there was somebody that would like to engage with you, keep in touch with you, find out a little bit more about leadership, what's the best way for anyone to respond and to keep in contact with you?
Well, I would say the best way is to first come back to this podcast and reach out to the Transformation Station leadership and say, hey, there was this guest you had. I would like to get in contact with them. That would be the best way. Outside of that, I am on some of your socials as Dr. Andrew Francis. Um, you can find me there. But my preferred method is you reach back to the Transformation Station Leadership podcast, engage, share it with others, and say that there was an amazing guest that I saw there. And if they're able to get guests like this that I want to continue to engage with, I want to also continue to engage with the Transformation Station leadership.
I love it. 1000%. All right. Well, listen, thank you so much for joining us today. It really has been a pleasure to have you here with us on Transformation Station.
My
Keep
pleasure.
on leading strong, Dr. Francis. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. Well, I want to remind you that your presence is the pebble and every conversation is the water. So choose your ripple before you throw the stone. That's right. Your presence is your legacy in motion. And listen, if today's conversation sparked a shift in how you lead, then I want to invite you right now to go ahead and share this episode, this podcast with someone who needs to hear this message. And of course, hit the subscribe button, right? And leave a review for Transformation Station because it helps us to reach more leaders just like you. So, see you next time on Transformation Station Podcast. Stay grounded, stay growing, and stay leading with intentionality. All right. Well, there you have it. Take care, everyone. Until next time.